Well, are we back again? Oh, here we are. The Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. Let's hear it. Hooray! More fun stuff, because I am the king of stuff. And we were over here by one of the other machines. We were talking about it, and he says, well, this looks like a fun machine. And it is a fun machine, and it's an oldie, too. How old is it? It's older than me. Now, that's old. Well, when I was a kid, many, many moons ago, there was Playland that I frequented in Lavalette on Route 35, and they had a machine in there called a Drive Mobile. It was a sit-down machine, and you sat there, there was a wooden seat, and when you turned the handle, the seat actually kind of moved a little bit one way or the other way to make you feel like you're driving. But what were you driving? There was a little plastic car, and there was a drum that turned, and you were moving the car back and forth to try to keep it on the road of this drum that turned, and I guess it would turn faster as you do better, and if you go off the road, you don't get score, and if you go on the road, you get score. I played it. Everybody played it. It was fun. Yes, I have one someplace. I think it's over on one of the buildings I got here in town, kind of buried behind a bunch of stuffed animals, whatever. But I mean, I know it's there. Someday I'll get around to it. Someday, if there's ever amount of days left for me to do all this stuff, someday I'll get to my Mutoscope Drive Mobile. So this is what it is. But that wasn't the first one they made, because that was a 50s machine. They did make them earlier than that. And here we have, look, it's a Drive Mobile. There's a Randy sitting up top here with his feet blocking it. Well, come on, Randy, you can't block everything here. It's the Drive Mobile. Test your driving skills. Isn't that wonderful? Now, if you look at the back glass here, you have a picture of the country. This glass is not true color. It faded over the years. Now, how do I know that? Well, because I've seen others that the colors are quite vibrant, and you can see it's not like just jutting out off of you. So this was probably a much more vibrant red, and I'm sure there were some greens in there somewheres that maybe have turned, but it's still the original glass, and I love it that way. And I think somebody made a reproduction glass for this, and you know, God bless them. But I can't afford to buy reproduction glasses for all the machines I have. I mean, I'm in a business that runs on coins, remember? So the Drive Mobile, here he is, if you can read through the dust. International Mutoscope, what is that word? Real Company. Interesting. From Long Island, New York. Well, you know, the reason they called themselves the Real Company was a mutoscope were the machines that had the reels that turned that you looked at the pictures. That was what mutoscope was known for, and that's what they made. So I guess it isn't hard to understand that they made a machine with a reel, which that drum is a reel, and it turns. And that is also faded, and I bet if I were to get the drum to turn, parts of the drum would be more vibrantly colored. But I can still see it, and there's the car. Look at that plastic car. Now, if you look at that car looks like a roadster, like from the late 30s into the 40s, kind of a sporty roadster. I mean, when did you see a car styled like that last? You would turn your wheel, even the steering wheel. I mean, it's an old one. Look what it says. See, look, Mutoscope. It still has its, you know, its wheel cap on it. You would turn the wheel, and the car would go back and forth. That's all we do. It would slide on a rail, and it's done with, you know, slide clutch and, you know, probably a nice little cable that goes back and forth. And as the drum would turn, you would try to stay on your side of the road. Now, you're on the road, you're off the road. So it knew if you were on your side of the road or not. So you don't want to be off the road and run into these cars, so you would stay on there. Now that road, obviously, is painted on the drum so that as the drum turns, the road moves, goes back and forth, you know, has a little swivel like this. So it makes it challenging that you got to keep the car on the road. And as you are on the road for periods of time, you would have score accumulation. Now, these games that were made with the map of the world, typically you started in New York. and it would advance. That's what these lights, these little dots are for. There's light bulbs behind there and the line. And the idea is to see how far you can get across to go over to the other side. Now I see up here there's 1,000 points, 1,000 points. I don't know how you got to Oregon, because obviously you're going across this way. Maybe somehow or another when you got to California it gave you a score for Oregon or whatever. Down here in Mobile, Alabama, there's 1,000 points also. New Orleans got 1,000 points. There's nothing over here in the Atlantic Ocean, because I guess you're not going in that direction here. Phoenix, Arizona, you got 1,000 points. You're trying to get across the country is what you're doing. You're getting your score. So I guess it would light up the points there and keep your accumulations over here. Off the road, no score, 1 lit. On the road, score, 1 lit. And this was the type of machine that you played when you were in the penny arcade. Isn't that wonderful? Now, look at this. You see, this is an original coin slot. This is a dime. You see the size of that? I know that's a dime, and these are typically porcelain-covered slide mechanisms. Slide's pretty good, too. I bet if I had a dime in there, that would slide in and out. It's not going to start the machine, and I wouldn't even start the machine without pulling it out and going over it, making sure that the grease hasn't emulsified so that things don't turn, because they don't need to burn out any motors by just, well, let's plug it in. It doesn't work like that. You have to go over things first. You don't just plug it in, and you go through these things. You testing, you got to clean it up nice. And I had this working. That's why it's standing here. This was working, and I was probably going to use it here. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been, along the walkway like this. So it wouldn't be hard to get it going again. But here he is. The Drive Mobile. This is probably, I would say it's a 40s machine. I don't think this would have been a 50s machine, not with that style car. This has got to be a 40s. Now somebody's going to look it up and they're going to say, you're wrong, you're wrong, it was from the late 30s. I don't know. I love it anyway. And I never played this one when I was a kid, but I fell in love with it because it was the type of thing that I played when I was a kid, and I just had to have it. So now I got to share it with you. Did you have a good time watching it? I knew you would. Well, we'll see you next time. The Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. Bye, guys.